Hey everyone, I'm the storyteller, and I'm here to help you relax tonight. I know a lot of you use this video to fall asleep, so before we start, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, tell me in the comments, where are you from, and what time is it there? Now get comfortable, take a deep breath, and just relax. You hear your mom's voice on the phone, only she died 2 years ago. The dispatcher tries to trace the call. Then a second line opens with the same voice, whispering from inside your house. It's 2:11 a.m. in Fairview, Oregon. Dispatch trainee Emily Carter is on her 4th overnight when a call comes in from a landline registered to 139 Ashwood Drive. A woman, mid-40s, breathless. He's back. He's in the hallway. Emily cues the tracing software, logs the call as home invasion, and routes units. The caller identifies herself. Laura Pike. Emily searches the record and freezes. Laura Pike died 2 years ago in a carbon monoxide incident at the same address. Emily flags her supervisor. Protocol says spoofing happens, but the background audio is too specific. Wet shoe squeaks on tile, a refrigerator rattling when it kicks on, an analog wall clock with a hitch in its tick. Little things that aren't on prank recordings. The voice returns. He's wearing my husband's shoes. Units roll. Emily keeps Laura talking. Where are you? In the bathroom. Doors wedged. Count the tiles on the floor for me. 36. Old reports note the upstairs bath had 36 ceramic squares. A second 911 call hits the console, from a cell phone at the same location. Same voice. Please, I don't know what he wants. Emily splits her headset, juggling both calls. The landline's Laura whispers like she's inches from danger. The cell caller sounds farther away, like from a car, wind buffeting the mic. Both insist they're alone. Patrol is 3 minutes out when a third call arrives. A neighbor across the street reports a tall man in a trench coat standing stock still on the Pike's porch, not knocking, just listening to the door. Emily's supervisor kills the third line and orders all attention on the landline. The bathroom door starts scraping in the background like someone is pressing a palm against it. He's pushing, Laura says, crying softly. He knows my name, but he's saying it wrong. From the cell line, he took my name. The dispatcher tries a test. Laura, tell me your daughter's middle name. E. Then the landline cuts out with a metallic burst. Officers reach the house. Body cams show the porch empty. The front door is ajar. They step into a kitchen lit only by the open fridge. A puddle of meltwater spiderwebs across the tile. Fresh shoe prints cross it twice. The bathroom upstairs is wedged with a towel. They force it. Empty. But there's condensation on the mirror. Someone breathed there minutes ago. 3 letters have been traced into fog. ELA. The daughter's middle name from the old case file. Ilona. Emily's cell line caller says, he's outside the window now. He's wearing my husband's shoes. Emily asks what she can see. The caller says, nothing. I'm in the bathroom. The officers scan the bathroom. The lid is off, the cold air return on the floor. Inside, a cheap prepaid phone on speaker, still connected to 911. Someone laid it there to broadcast the room's sound. Before they can trace the active cell call, the upstairs hallway smoke detector chirps. Dead battery. The body cam turns toward the dark hall, where a long coat swings around the corner. Footsteps with a wet squeak retreat to the attic ladder. The officers rush, pull the cord. The ladder unfolds. A smell like damp wool. In the attic's dust are 2 places where someone sat, recently. One spot has a tape recorder, old, with a crudely looped edit labeled Laura. The second spot has men's shoes, soaked. Beyond them, A crawlspace portal is pried open to the night. The trace finally pings the active cell call, the neighbor's shed across the street. Inside, they find another cheap phone playing live bathroom ambience, recorded earlier through the vent. Someone orchestrated the calls, rerouted the voices, used the house as a stage to loop fear back into itself. 3 nights later, Emily receives a voicemail on her personal phone. A single breath. Then her own voice, stitched from recorded calls, saying, "He's back." Police never identify the trenchcoat figure. The daughter, Ilona, moves away. The new owners of 139 Ashwood replace the bathroom floor. 36 tiles become 35. One space left bare, as if for a missing name. Site, if you ever hear your own voice on a call you didn't make, what's the first thing you do? Comment below with your answer. And tell me if you've ever received a call from a number you shouldn't recognize but somehow did. A woman checks into a budget hotel off I-40. The smell is sweet, like rotting fruit. The front desk says it's the carpet cleaner. She sleeps anyway. In the morning she realizes the smell isn't from the carpet, because the carpet is bulging. Traveling nurse Hannah drives overnight toward Flagstaff and takes a cheap room at the Red Moon Lodge, room 314. The hallway is quiet in that vacant, forgotten way. Inside, the AC unit rattles with a loose screw, the TV doesn't quite turn off, and the carpet under the bed is oddly puffed up as if it's on a riser. The clerk swears a contractor just did deep steam. Hannah is exhausted. She showers. The drain gurgles like it's swallowing a secret. The sweet smell returns, now thicker. She sprays perfume, throws herself on the bed, and texts her sister. "Made it. Room's a bit gross, but whatever." At 2:40 a.m., a soft thump from under the bed wakes her. She yanks back the sheet, kneels, and looks. All she sees is the bulged carpet edge tucked tight. Urban legend, she thinks, the body under the bed. She laughs at herself and uses the hotel Bible to prop open the window. She forces sleep. At 4:12 a.m., her phone pings. It's a voicemail transcription from an unknown number. "Do not lift the bed." She calls the desk. No answer. She walks to the hallway and sees the clerk's stool tipped over. When she tries the rear stairwell door, it's chained from the outside. Back in the room, she pulls at the carpet seam with an emery file. Staple by staple, it lifts. A smell like old pennies and syrup floods out. She retches. There's plywood beneath, hastily cut. A rectangle. She pries until the wood pops and a dark cavity opens like a mouth. Inside, plastic sheeting, a drained kiddie pool, a black trash bag, and a man's wrist with a motel key looped around it. 314. She drops the board and sprints into the hall. Stops dead. The "Do Not Disturb" tag is gone from her knob. In its place is a plastic card holder. Housekeeping in progress. Hannah bolts for the front office. A different clerk stands there. Clean polo, polite smile too wide. "Everything okay?" he asks. His name tag is blank. She says she needs the police. He tilts his head. For the smell.
As he leans, his sleeve rides up. There's a smear of dark syrup at his wrist. He slides a pen across the counter, the click too loud like a tiny hammer. "Sign to confirm your checkout," he says. Hannah backs away and bumps into a maid cart. The maid, face pale, eyes red, whispers, "Room 314 always comes back." She nudges the cart, covering the clerk's line of sight, and drops a key into Hannah's palm. "Boiler room," she mouths. Hannah sprints. The boiler room is humid and loud. On a pegboard hang keys for every room, except 314. The ledger on the desk shows 314 marked out of order for weeks. Yet the nightly sheet shows charges and cleaning logs. Steam. Rinse. Seal. Repeat. The door swings open. Heavy footsteps. Hannah crawls behind the boiler. The clerk's voice is joined by a second, older, gravelly. She opened the bed. Then we reseal, the older voice says. Just like before. Their feet pause at a crate stacked with cleaning supplies. On top sits a box of cheap prepaid phones. One phone is missing, Hannah's voicemail. She slithers to a back service hatch and emerges in the alley behind the hotel, where the ground slopes toward a drain crusted with a sweet, dark residue. She runs to the highway and flags a trucker. Police return to the lodge at sunrise. They find the clerk alone, smiling calmly. He says the hotel had a contract with a remediation company that doesn't exist. In room 314, the plywood has been freshly screwed down. Inside the cavity, nothing but plastic and the kiddie pool. The ledger vanishes. The maid never comes back to work. 2 weeks later, the Red Moon Lodge burns in an electrical fire. Investigators find a cluster of motel keys fused together in a melted mass. One stamped 314 sits on top like a crown. The urban legend about bodies under motel beds is rooted in cases from the 80s and 90s. But sometimes the scariest part isn't the body, it's the system built to make you sleep through it. Ever stayed somewhere that smelled off? Tell me the creepiest hotel moment you've had, and would you have lifted the carpet? There's a mile-long stretch of subway tunnel under Boston that isn't on any map. Teen explorers go in for clout. The lucky ones come back with a video. The unlucky ones come back with someone else's voice. Kai, Maya, and Jude run a small Urbex channel. A fan DMs them a blueprint of a discontinued branch line, codename Mile Zero, constructed in the 1940s then sealed. Rumors say it was used for emergency evacuations and other movements. The entrance is an innocuous maintenance hatch behind a defunct bakery. They drop into cool darkness, GoPros on. The tunnel is narrow, wet with condensation. A hand-painted sign says, "No passage east of marker 7. They laugh and step over. Marble dust coats the ties. Every 30 yards, old speakers are bolted to the wall like cobweb mouths. At marker 5 they hear it, a low, barely their whisper, too soft for words, more like wind-forming syllables. Maya cups her ear. The audio meters on her camera spike, registering speech in frequencies they can't hear. Jude tosses a rock down the track. It doesn't clatter, it's absorbed like the rails are padded. At marker 7, a faded chalk tally, 20 vertical lines and a slash. Someone keeping score. A scrap of cloth, child-sized, hangs on a nail. They hit a metal gate welded shut except for a human-sized gap. Beyond, a staging platform where parallel tracks converge. In the center sits a wooden chair, strapped with leather belts. A speaker is pointed at it like an interrogator. Kai jokes about a ghost audio booth. Jude, ever the showman, sits and pretends to listen. The speaker crackles, then speaks in Jude's voice. Only it says something Jude didn't. It's okay. You can come in now. Footsteps. Not theirs. Bare feet slapping wet stone. Maya swings the camera but the beam catches only dust, the particles hanging like a curtain. A new whisper slides through the speaker. We move them at night. The city never knew. Another follows, layered on top. Lower your head. Don't look at their faces. A third, that one's still listening. Kai feels breath on his neck. He whirls. No one. His mic picks up a single click like a switch. The rail lights flicker to life in a line heading deeper. They run. The tunnel seems to stretch. Marker 7 never appears again. The camera shows the same graffiti repeating. A child's name, AVA, written, crossed out, written again. They reach a door marked Control. Inside, a rack of ancient tape decks. Each is labeled with a date and a destination. 1943, South, 1954, Harbor, 1969, night work. One tape sits ready to play, Rehearsal. Jude hits it. Children's voices practicing silence. A conductor says gently, when the doors open, follow the line. If they ask your name, say the one we gave you. Maya pulls Jude, they bolt for the gate and squeeze through. The whispers follow like a tide until the maintenance hatch clangs shut and the city's night air hits them like a slap. They post the video. It goes viral, but audio analysts flag something. Under their own speaking voices is a fourth voice that never belonged to any of them, repeating each word a beat late, learning how to be them. 2 weeks later, Jude stops appearing on the channel. Kai says he's fine. But in a live stream, someone asks Jude to say, "Lower your head." He does, automatically like a reflex. Then he laughs as if it were a joke, but his eyes don't. Abandoned places aren't empty, they're just full of the last thing that happened there. You're offered $10,000 to spend 1 hour past marker 7. No lights, just a recorder. Are you doing it? Drop yes or a no, and why. A couple installs smart cameras and sets them to autoplay, so clips of movement play on their living room TV. At 3:13 a.m., the TV shows their bedroom, while they're both still sound asleep inside it. Irene and Marcus buy a split level in Leeds. He travels for work, she freelances from home. They install 3 cameras: front door, living room, bedroom. The system has a slick feature. If any camera detects motion after 1 a.m., the living room TV wakes and silently plays the clip, so someone is always watching. For weeks it's dust and cat antics. Irene gets used to the quick blue glow in the hallway at odd hours. Then, while Marcus is on a trip, she wakes to find the TV already playing, the autoplay stuck on a loop of her bedroom from 20 minutes earlier, showing a tall, dark smear standing at the foot of the bed. She scrubs the timeline. Nothing logs. The cloud clips skip from 2:59 to 3:17. She blames a glitch, until the bedroom door eases open on the TV, while in real life it's still closed.
She calls Marcus. He tells her to leave the house. She creeps into the hall. The blue TV glow pulses like breathing. On the screen, a hand, long fingers, smudged edges, too many knuckles, slides up the side of the mattress. Irene pulls the plug on the TV. It stays on for 3 seconds longer than it should, like it doesn't want to stop. They bring a tech the next day. He says the camera firmware is fine, but someone might have cloned the device ID. He suggests a full reset. Irene resets everything and adds a passphrase. That night, autoplay triggers again. The living room TV shows the front door camera, except the front door view is of Irene watching the TV from behind. Marcus returns home armed with denial and a rubber mallet. He proposes turning it all off. Irene refuses. She wants to know. They set phones to record the TV when it triggers. At 3:13 a.m., autoplay wakes. The screen shows the bedroom again. The bed is empty, but on the floor beside it, 4 chalky footprints that aren't theirs. The live bedroom camera, on their phones, shows nothing. Marcus storm checks the bedroom. Nothing. He places a glass of flour on the floor to catch prints. At 3:13 a.m. the next night, autoplay cues. The TV shows Marcus asleep, then the dark smear bending over him. It leans close to his ear. On the audio track, which shouldn't exist, autoplay is video only. A whisper. Rotate devices counterclockwise. Marcus sits up on screen. In real time, he's still asleep. TV Marcus turns every camera counterclockwise on their mounts by exactly 90 degrees. The live feeds on their phones rotate too, like they're obeying orders. The TV cuts to the front door. A smudge puts its face right up to the lens. It looks like static wearing a human mask. Then it exhales, fogging the glass from the wrong side. The bedroom camera, now rotated, shows the ceiling. There, in the corner, something hangs like a wet coat. It unpeels itself, lengthens, then slides along the wall toward the bed like a shadow spilling. They rip the system out. Autoplay stays on anyway, fed by cameras that technically don't exist. An installer finds an old coaxial line in the wall that leads to a crawlspace beneath the stairs. In that crawlspace, an ancient black and white security monitor with a cracked screen displaying the bedroom in grainy monochrome. The footage is delayed by exactly 14 minutes. A prior owner was a night watchman who died in the house. Neighbors say he trained himself to see danger seconds before it happened by running his tapes through a delay loop. Irene and Marcus sell the house. The listing says, "Smart home ready." The new owners never set up cameras, but every night at 3:13 a.m., a soft blue glow still pulses in the living room. Would you rather have no cameras and not know, or always know, even if you can't stop it? Tell me which and why. A teenager vanishes during a bathroom stop at exit 17 on I-17. 70. The only evidence is security footage of him entering the restroom, and another video from a different store 6 miles away of him leaving the same restroom. Elliot, Leo, Finch, 17, is driving cross-country with his dad from Ohio to Colorado. They pull off at a travel plaza near midnight. Leo heads into the men's room. His dad orders coffee, glances up once, twice. 5 minutes become 20. He bangs on the bathroom door. A janitor opens it with a key. Empty stalls, a floor still wet from mopping. One dryer cycling without a hand beneath it. Security shows Leo enter, but never exit. Police sweep the building. Nothing. At 2:03 a.m., 6 miles west, a clerk at a closed gas station hears a hand dryer run in their restroom and hits record on the back office feed. The footage captures the bathroom door opening to the same travel plaza bathroom. Same tile, same scuffed baseboard. Leo steps out, confused, walks past a soda fridge that shouldn't be there, then vanishes out of frame. Detectives compare the videos. The spaces aren't mirrors, they're continuous. Something connects the two restrooms like a short circuit. Leo's dad drives the route daily for weeks, stopping at every exit, checking every bathroom. In the graffitied notch of a paper towel dispenser, he finds 4 letters scratched by a key. Left. He assumes it's advice. At the next stop, he turns left into the bathroom instead of right. The stalls are reversed. The mirror sits where the paper towel unit should be. He opens the far stall and finds a post-it on the wall. 17. A transportation historian tells police about relief routes built in the 50s, maintenance corridors linking way stations. Some were never mapped, sealed, or paved over by new construction. A night crew pries open a maintenance hatch behind the Exit 17 plaza. Inside is a concrete hall that smells like ozone and cleaner. It runs west, perfectly straight, ending at a door with no handle. The other side is the wall of that gas station 6 miles away. They can hear a hand dryer humming faintly through solid concrete. They drill. The bit sparks and dies as if the wall doesn't want to be opened. The humming stops. The fluorescent lights flicker once. The crew turns to leave, and the hall is shorter than it used to be. Leo's dad returns alone and sits in the hall with a thermos. He places a new post-it on the floor. If you can hear this, knock. He waits until 3:17 a.m., the timestamp on the second video. A knock comes, 3 times, from the door with no handle. He cries and says, "Which way?" Something scratches on the concrete like chalk. Left. He turns left in the hall, which doesn't make sense. But when he does, the fluorescent hum deepens and a draft tickles his neck. He takes 4 steps, his feet crunch on paper towel scraps. The air smells like that travel plaza cleaner. He reaches out. His hand touches a metal edge, then a hinge, then the push plate of a door that shouldn't exist. He pushes. A bathroom yawns open, lights buzzing, a hand dryer cycling with no hand beneath. "Leo," he calls. A voice just like his son's answers. From behind him. He spins. The hall is gone. He's back in the travel plaza restroom. The door swings, hits the wall. On the mirror, written backward as if from the other side, "Went left." They never find Leo. But every year on the night of his disappearance, Exit 17's bathroom hand dryer turns itself on at exactly 3:17 a.m. 2 cameras, one at the plaza, one 6 miles west, briefly sync and play each other's feeds before snapping back. Some places don't take people. They reroute them. When you stop at a lonely rest area and the air feels charged, "Are you still going in?" Comment "in" or "out" and tell me your Exit 17 ritual. You wake in the dead stillness of night. and nothing about it feels like sleep. Your eyes are open, but your body is nailed down to the mattress, heavy, suffocating. Your chest doesn't rise. Your lungs don't obey. At first you think you're dreaming, until the details start to pile up. The faint creak of the radiator, the hum of the fridge downstairs, the whisper of traffic several blocks away. Everything sounds sharper, more precise, like the world has slowed so you can hear every gear turning. Then you notice the weight. It isn't just that your arms and legs won't move. Something is pressing down on you, forcing your ribs to groan, every breath cut in half. Your pulse beats so loud it feels like it's shaking the bed frame. You want to scream, but your jaw is locked. And then, right beside your ear, a voice sighs. You left the door open, love. It's your mother's voice. But she's been dead for years. The clock blinks, 3:26 a.m. in the corner of your room. Your phone, face down on the nightstand, buzzes once, then lights up on its own. The recording app flickers open without your touch. You know it's recording what's happening to you. The problem is, you don't want proof, because if you survive this, you'll have to listen back. And when you do, you'll hear what was sitting on your chest. Something you didn't see, but something that saw you. And once it sees you, it doesn't leave. Dylan Reeves was a rational man. 29 years old IT technician, raised in a world of routers and firewalls. The kind of guy who tested his smoke alarms twice a year and labeled the boxes in his loft by both color and date. He had rules for everything. Meals logged into MyFitnessPal, alarms set with 15-minute wake-up rehearsal chimes, passwords organized by length. When his girlfriend left him for someone more spontaneous, Dylan wasn't surprised. He couldn't blame her. He knew he lived like a clock. So when he signed the lease for the little third-floor flat in Brighton, he told himself this was his chance to break the pattern. New space, new life. He picked a place near the sea, with a creaky wooden stairwell and a streetlight that painted the curtains orange at night. The first evening, he unpacked his bed and his desk and placed his phone charger carefully on the right side of the nightstand. He lay back, window cracked, listening to the gulls circle and cry in the dark. Sleep came heavy, like it always did after moving boxes. And then he woke. The first time, it was subtle. His eyes clicked open and the ceiling pressed down at him like a lid. He tried to turn his head, but couldn't. He tried to lift his arm, but it felt welded to the mattress. His lungs clutched at air that wouldn't come. It lasted maybe 20 seconds. Long enough for panic to scream through his nerves. Long enough for him to wonder if he was dying. And just when the terror peaked, his chest loosened and he sat up, wheezing, drenched in sweat. The clock blinked, 3:26. Dylan had heard of this before. Sleep paralysis. He even remembered a podcast about it. A harmless misfire between brain and body. REM freezing the muscles while consciousness returned too early. The hosts had laughed about the old hag people swore they saw sitting on their chest. That night, Dylan forced himself to laugh too. He told himself it was nothing, but the second night made it harder. Again, 3:26. Again, locked to the bed, unable to breathe. Only this time, the pressure wasn't just weight. It felt like knees, sharp, digging into his ribs. His ears picked up a sound, wet and sticky, like someone clicking their tongue against their teeth. And then the voice. Soft, loving, inches from his ear. "You left the door open, love." It was his mother's voice, clear as a phone call. But his mother had been gone 3 years, an aneurysm in her sleep. Dylan's eyes watered as he fought for control. His lips moved uselessly, trying to form her name. The voice continued, quiet, affectionate. "He's wearing my husband's shoes." and then, release. He jolted upright, gasping. The front door was locked. The bolt still turned. He checked 3 times. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was missing. But the voice lingered. That morning, he downloaded a sleep app. He set it to record sound. He wanted to prove it to himself, either to catch nothing but his snores, or to capture whatever madness his brain was creating. When he checked the file the next day, the hairs on his arms stood rigid, because at exactly 3:26, the audio spiked, and in the middle of the clicks and rustles was a voice, layered, his mother's tone overlapping with his own, speaking together in unison. "Don't blink." Word spread in the building faster than Dylan expected. He asked the woman across the hall, a retired nurse, if she'd ever had trouble sleeping. She hesitated, lips pressed thin. Then she told him. The last tenant had left suddenly after claiming she saw someone at the foot of her bed, someone wearing her face but with no eyelids. Dylan laughed it off at first, but that night he couldn't sleep. He moved the bed to the center of the room. He left the lamp on. He played a looped voice memo of his own voice, calm and steady. "This is sleep paralysis. You're safe. Nothing is here." At 3:26, the memo stopped, cut clean. The lamp went out, and a hand, long, pale, jointed wrong, slid down the inside of the lampshade and clicked the switch. His throat tore in a scream that no sound left. His chest ached like nails were hammered through it. The wet clicking grew louder. He stared at the wall in front of him, the only thing his eyes could reach, and from a faint crack in the plaster, his own reflection pressed forward. His face, but wrong, skin stretched, eyes shiny and bulbous, no eyelids. The reflection blinked anyway, a dry clack like wood blocks. The phone on the nightstand scraped upright without touch, its front camera lit. On the screen, Dylan saw himself from behind, as if the weight on his chest held the camera. On screen, the thing crouched inside his ribs, chin resting between his sternum bones, staring at the camera through the cage of his chest. "Don't blink," it said again, "or your eyes will stay how you made them." The reflection's finger pressed into the crack in the plaster, widening it like soft clay. Behind the plaster was no lath, no wood. Behind it was a seam of flesh, puckered and sewn, exactly like a giant eyelid. The world snapped back. Dylan tore the wall open with his fists at dawn. Plaster dust choked him. Beneath the thin layer, he found an old door, wooden, braced with iron nails. A closet once, sealed off. When he called the landlord, the man shrugged. Building's been through dozens of refits. Probably just a cupboard. But inside the cupboard hung a coat. Heavy wool, damp with age. In the pocket, a bag of sewing needles and a cracked compact mirror. The glass was fractured right across where eyelids would reflect. That night, Dylan didn't sleep. He sat with the compact taped shut, goggles on his face, waiting. At 3:26, the phone lit anyway. A recording started without his touch. The playback lasted 61 seconds. A voice, his, not his, counted his breaths in perfect rhythm. In, hold, out, blink. At the end, the voice said calmly, "We're learning." Dylan stopped fighting. He changed his ritual. Goggles on, compact taped, cupboard sealed with chains. He moved the bed as far from the wall as possible. 4 weeks, the paralysis lessened. But still, every so often, the phone recorded at 3:26. The same countdown. Sometimes, after, the goggles would fog as if someone had leaned close to his face. Sometimes the tape on the compact would pucker. as though something behind the glass was breathing. The neighbor moved out. Dylan thought about following, but the voice still followed him, even when he slept at his girlfriend's flat one weekend. Always at 3:26. Always whispering the same warning. Don't blink. Because blinking would mean acknowledging. And once you acknowledge them, once you see the face with no eyelids pressed through your own reflection, you understand the truth. Sleep paralysis isn't your body failing to wake. It's your body refusing to move while something else uses it as a doorway. Dylan told himself he'd never blink again. He'd keep his eyes open, wide, forever. But eyelids tire, muscles falter, and the thing that presses on his chest at night is very patient. It waits, and when he finally blinks, really blinks, he won't open his eyes again. Have you ever had sleep paralysis? Did you see something, hear something, feel something? Comment your scariest night. Because if you've been visited at 3:26, you're not the only one. You don't buy a curse for $40. You buy a story, a shine, something that looks like it remembers a better room than yours. The gilded vanity mirror leaned against a folding table at the estate sale, foxing around the edges like frost. A handwritten tag, Beaumont Hotel, 1928. Ladies' writing room. The seller smiled through nicotine teeth. It photographs beautifully. Quinn took a test selfie to see how it handled glare. The photo showed her holding a razor blade to slice open a film envelope. In real life, she was holding a coffee. She laughed, bought the mirror, and slid it into the boot of her hatchback with a squeal of glass against carpet. Back at her Baltimore studio, white walls, north light, the safe smell of fresh gaffer's tape. She leaned the mirror against brick and took another selfie for her story. The photo showed her, 5 minutes from now, deleting a memory card. She rolled her eyes, posted a before/after joke about photographer brain, set a timer to remind herself not to touch anything, and got back to editing. 5 minutes later, while a frantic bride cried through the phone about a florals mix-up, Quinn's thumb autopilot to the trash icon. She froze just in time. The photo's prediction was off by a breath. The craving to fulfill it pulsed like thirst. That night, the mirror showed her switching off every studio light and opening the door to a man she didn't recognize. His hands were behind his back. 5 minutes later, someone buzzed. Quinn Mathis was a wedding photographer with the personality of a metronome and the appetite of a hummingbird. She had spent 10 years in other people's happiest days, learning the choreography of vows and champagne and the way panic sounded when it wore pearls. Her studio lived on the second floor of a converted warehouse off Howard Street. Clean lines, fiber rugs, soft boxes tucked like sleeping sails. She loved her space the way surgeons loved their scalpels. She didn't believe in bad luck. She believed in backups. The mirror, though, crossed the line between charm and superstition. It was a slab of glass with a sinuous Art Deco frame, gilded with wear, the silvering behind the glass mottled into a galaxy. Foxing made soft constellations around the perimeter, and if you tilted your head, faint letters in the backing glinted like a watermark. She assumed Beaumont once lived there fully, before time had eaten the vowels. She Googled over lunch. Photos of the Beaumont Hotel popped up, black and white glamour, bellhops in crisp uniforms, women in cloche hats, a lobby fountain spilling like a silk skirt. It had burned in 1933. Everyone in the news clippings wrote about one woman, Lydia Beaumont, the owner's wife, last seen seated at a vanity as smoke scalloped the ceiling. A maid swore Lydia had known where the flames would go. She had powdered her nose with perfect calm. Another clipping quoted a firefighter. We heard someone counting down. When Quinn returned to the studio, the mirror had cooled into the room, serving images with new confidence. She noticed the oddity by accident. She raised her camera, and the mirror answered not with "Now, Quinn," but with a Quinlet 5 minutes later. Hair up, jacket on, a coffee ring on the desk that didn't yet exist, a vase of white ranunculus she did not own. She ran a test. She set a timer for 5 minutes, held a Sharpie, and posed without moving. The mirror took her in. Shoulders, jawline, the habit of tucking hair behind her ear. In its surface, future Quinn wrote "Don't" on the back of her hand. The present Sharpie was capped. She waited, heart skittering. When the timer chirped, she didn't want to obey. The urge came anyway, rising like the rightness of a yawn. She wrote "Don't." It felt like scratching an itch she hadn't known was there. The next experiment. She placed her keys in the exact center of the desk, photographed the mirror, and watched as Mirror Quinn tucked the keys in the freezer. 5 minutes later, she stood in the kitchenette with the door open, the cool hum on her cheeks, keys in her hand, laughing alone. The mirror was not showing choices. It was showing path of least resistance Quinn, all the thoughtless little movements she made every day, predicted with a patience that felt like love or hunger. On Thursday, she booked a courthouse ceremony, small and sweet, and scheduled her afternoon to deliver proofs. The mirror angled in the corner like a third assistant, watching with galactic patience. At 3:07, the mirror showed her deleting a memory card. She swore out loud, left the card in a pelican case, moved it to the locked cabinet, took a photo to prove the future wrong, and set a reminder on her phone. At 3:12, her phone rang. The bride. "We have to do a last-minute shot list change. The florist is late. Can you?" Quinn, comforting on autopilot, turned to her desk, thumb alive. When she realized she had the card mounted and the trash icon hovering, she snapped out of it like waking from a skid. She unplugged the card reader and sat on her hands, breathing like an athlete. The mirror's prediction had almost mapped itself onto her body. Almost. That night she dreamed in 5-minute increments, herself closing doors, switching off, standing aside. She woke with stiff shoulders, the posture of someone who had made space for something to pass behind her. Friday's deliveries went without fail. She turned the mirror to the wall while clients were present. She wasn't ready to explain a novelty that wasn't. When the last couple left, sweet nurses who tipped in cookies, she angled the mirror back and took a test shot. The mirror showed the studio dark. It showed the door open. It showed a man at the threshold with both hands behind his back. She swallowed, moved, checked the lock, laughed. "Okay," she said aloud. "You're a great special effect." At 7:32 the intercom buzzed. A male voice through static. "Courier. Small package for Quinn Mathis." She approached the door with slow dread that had no rational soul. "Leave it there, please." Silence. Then, the gentle sound of someone exhaling into the speaker. She waited until the stairwell swallowed his footsteps. She opened the door to find no package, no note, just the smell of cloves and old perfume. She shut everything down and went home like a person learning to walk on a new planet, every step checked against a force she could not name. You can talk yourself into sanity if you have good props. Quinn amassed them. She wrote, "This is me" on a card and taped it to the mirror's frame. She locked the pelican case with a new padlock. She set calendar alerts to clash with the mirror's 5-minute beats, so her day felt syncopated, resistant. The mirror adjusted. It began to show things further from her control. Her phone on her desk, receiving a text at 10:44 that said "I forgive you" from a number not in her contacts. Her hand picking up a razor to slice a film envelope she hadn't opened in 2 years. Her elbow nudging a glass to the rug beside the bed in her home apartment, not the studio, where she had never placed a glass on the floor. She started to find herself doing these things without recollection of a decision. The razor lay out after she swore she had put it away. The glass sat damp on the rug, a perfect ring. The phone showed the sent message when her memory held a blank. The mirror's 5-minute gaze had lengthened into a pressure she felt between her shoulder blades. This is how it goes. On Sunday morning, she visited the Pratt branch of the library to dig for Beaumont history. The microfiche machine hummed like a hive. She found Lydia again, the socialite wife, pearls even when there was no one to see. A columnist had described her as a woman who arranged reality to match her plans. In the coroner's report, a note: hands powdered, lungs full of smoke, face composed. It read like a caption, like a photo Quinn might have taken. Poise while the world burned. She followed a side trail. A ruin hunter blog showed modern photos of the Beaumont skeleton. Brick ribs, iron bones. In one shot, graffiti scrawled along a surviving panel of mirrored wall. 5 minutes is kind. A comment beneath: try living 20. That evening, Quinn told herself she would not look in the mirror. She fed the cat next door while her neighbor visited family. She made soup. She started a movie. The urge to check rose like a tickle in the teeth. She waited until her heart stuttered with it. She went to the studio and stood in front of the glass. The mirror showed her not 5 minutes from now, but later. Hair braided down her back, jacket on, studio lights off, door open, the hallway beyond lit by an emergency glow. The man from before, blurry, hands behind back, stood with head cocked. The light around him pulsed. The glass carried the faint suggestion of smoke. She covered the mirror with a canvas drop cloth and went home. She placed her phone on the table and turned it face down. She pretended not to hear it buzz under the wood. A small animal trying to escape. At 3:11 a.m., her phone lit the ceiling. A text from an unknown number. You can prevent it. Then a second. Face it outward. Then, always. The next morning, she walked the mirror downstairs to the sidewalk and took a photo of the city reflected. An old couple with a tote bag, a bus sighing, a boy chasing a hat. It was lovely, alive, the foxing like stars fallen during the day. She posted an image with a caption about rescued glamour. The likes came fast. Clients adored anything that made romance feel antique. A DM slid in. Don't point it inward. Don't turn your back on that glass. She clicked the profile at Lydia. A fan page. A hoax. The account had 6 posts. Black and white photos of the hotel, a cropped scan of the coroner's note, and one plain text slide. A vanity is a door when you think you're alone. She wrote back. Who are you? Typing dots. A volunteer. We keep track of where the fixtures went. That mirror shouldn't be in a private space. It calibrates to its owner. 5 minutes, then longer. Quinn answered with a lie she wanted to believe. It's a photography trick. No trick. It's a training. It will nudge. It will propose the gentlest path. You'll take it. Most people don't notice. You did. That's good. Don't turn it to face a wall. Don't let it face your bed. A museum is safest. She closed the app, annoyed by the faux authoritative tone, the Instagram ghost story energy. She swore aloud that she would not be bullied by a follower or a relic. There were weddings to shoot, invoices to send, a life to live that didn't revolve around antique moods. She placed the mirror back in the corner, facing outward toward the windows, where it captured the city and her studio in a handsome split. She felt triumphant. She poured coffee. She opened her calendar. Then the smell came, a sweetness like old roses scorched with sugar. She thought of caramel, of funerals. She looked at the mirror. It showed her running. It showed the hallway lit orange. It showed her shoulder slamming into the fire door, her hand pressing the bar. 5 minutes later, The neighbor's stove ignited in a circle of blue flame that ran like a fuse around a forgotten pan. The smoke curled into the hall. The alarm bleated a thin metronome. She pounded on doors. They got out, shaking, laughing, half embarrassed by the drama. The fire department killed the stove with authority like a period at the end of a dangerous sentence. Everyone patted Quinn's shoulder and called her a hero. She accepted their gratitude like a person wearing the right dress for a part they hadn't rehearsed. Back upstairs, the mirror still showed the hallway, though her windows faced north. It wasn't showing reflection anymore. It was showing whatever it wanted, like a channel that picked its viewer. She'd made the Foundation account. It predicted a fire. It teaches you where you'd go anyway, if you weren't asleep at the wheel. And the man at the door? Don't open. That night, someone buzzed again. Same voice. Courier. A soft clove smell, the sweetness of old smoke. She called out. Police are on their way. No footsteps left. The hall swallowed sound like a throat. She didn't sleep at home. She lay on the studio couch with the mirror facing outward. Every half hour, she woke to check. The city moved in the glass. Taxi lights, the glow of someone scrolling across the street, a drunk in a topcoat hugging a parking meter and crying. She dozed at 4 o'clock and dreamed of a dressing table in a room that didn't burn, a woman's hand steady as she applied powder. In the dream, the woman looked up, not at herself, but at Quinn, and said, 5 minutes is grace. 20 is a leash. Quinn woke with a start, the taste of smoke dragging at her tongue. Her phone had a new text at 4:03 from an unsaved number. Face outward. If you won't donate it, at least don't let it in. She wrote back without thinking. Outward only. Typing dots. Promise. Promise. She put the mirror on a wheeled stand and set a rule. In her presence, the glass would look out at the world, not in at her. She was stubborn, which friends called admirable and her ex called exhausting. She could live inside a rule as if it were a house. For a while, it worked. The mirror showed street life, little futures. A cyclist stopping just before a cab door opened. A delivery guy choosing the left elevator instead of the right because a woman with a stroller would need space. A child tugging free of a parent's hand and nearly stepping into the gutter before the parent grabbed him. Quinn found she could help, sometimes, a wave, a warning shout. She started collecting small gratitude in her pocket like matchbooks. The mirror, pleased or bored, adjusted again. It began to display inside spaces elsewhere, a museum guard alone on a bench pinching his nose, a hotel corridor, a dressing room where a cheerleader cried alone, a dim storage room with racks of frames and a red exit sign humming. Each scene arrived 5 minutes early. Each offered no click-out, no interactivity, only the helpless knowledge of what was soon. She called the number. Straight to voicemail. She wrote to the Foundation again. It's showing other rooms now. That is safer. It wants you to participate. Don't. What does it want? Agreement. And practice. Practice for what? When something bigger asks. The reply charged her with cold like stepping into a barn in winter. Something bigger sounded like superstition. She hated superstition. She believed in checklists. She went to the museum. The City Decorative Arts Museum lived in a repurposed bank, coffered ceilings and a vestibule that smelled like brass polish and school groups. The curator of the Modern Americana wing, a man in his 40s with shoe polish hair and a tie patterned with tiny knives, met her under the mezzanine. He shook hands with a polite pressure and the finishing school smile of someone trained to be photographed near donors. Quinn laid out her case. Provenance, caution, weirdness softened into peculiar predictive reflections, her desire to place the mirror somewhere public. The curator's eyes sharpened at Beaumont like a dog hearing its name in a different room. "We've recovered 3 vanities from the fire salvage," he said. "Most were museum quality. One disappeared into a private collection in the 80s. We've wondered where it went." "Here," Quinn said. She didn't mention the texts. She didn't mention the man at the door. They documented, joked, filled out intake. The registrar took photos and a serial number rubbed onto paper with a soft pencil. The curator's assistant ran a cotton swab inside the frame for residue analysis, for the archive. The bureaucratic calm soothed Quinn. This, at least, was a world with rules and boxes. "Display it facing outward, please," she said, sounding sillier than she wanted. The curator cocked his head. "We're planning a foyer installation," he said. "Guests love to see themselves against deco. But we'll angle it toward the atrium for safety." "Safety? We've had incidents." He waved a hand. "Interactive pieces attract superstition. Someone faints, someone sees something. We encourage outward facing. It keeps the histrionics to a minimum." The mirror went behind glass in a temporary case, facing the entrance. Daylight flared on it, diluting the foxing into a halo. A group of teenagers took photos in it, their mouths open in conspiring laughter. An elderly couple stood before it, remembering something to each other, perhaps themselves in their best clothes in a particular lobby 60 years gone. Quinn felt a sweet relief, as if she had put a volatile pet in a kind neighbor's home. She left a donor plaque anonymous at the last second, changed her mind about seeing her name under an object she wasn't sure she had ever owned. That night, the mirror showed the museum lobby. 5 minutes in the future, a kid from the teenagers group lifted a small bronze mouse from a plinth and slid it into his backpack. 5 minutes later, security intercepted him as his friends hooted. The kid cried earnestly, mortified. The guard gave him a speech that sounded polished and well-meaning, and the mouse went back home. Quinn watched on the museum's own Instagram a story posted from the guard's account. Teachable moment with a winking emoji. She slept. For the first time in weeks, she slept without waking at the mirror's time. In the morning, she made coffee without checking her phone. She walked to the studio and sang badly in the elevator. On the 3rd night, the mirror showed the lobby again and then shifted, disorientingly, like a camera panning without someone behind it. It showed the storage room with the racks of frames and the red exit. A figure entered, swipe-carded the lock, and wheeled a crate into place. The figure wore the curator's jacket. He had removed his tie. He lifted the mirror carefully from the case, set it upright in the storage room facing inward, and stepped back to admire the frame's gold. He left the room, returned with foam inserts. The mirror now looked not at the museum, not at the city, but at its own stored reflection. The white of a wall, the shadow of its own frame cast like a capital letter onto concrete. Quinn's gut went electric. She grabbed her coat, phone, keys, and ran the 5 blocks to the museum, half ashamed of herself, half unable not to. The guard at the desk, young, buzz-cut, polite, listened to her insist on the curator. "He's in the back," the guard said slowly, paging. The intercom crackled. "He'll meet you in storage." He did, 5 minutes later, hair rumpled with hurry, smile pinned on like a boutonniere. "Quinn. Serendipity. I was just moving the piece to prep for mount fabrication. The case was temporary. Facing inward. It's safer off the floor for the night." "Safer for who?" He blinked. "For the object. I donated it with a condition. Face it outward. A suggestion," he said lightly. "Unfortunately, we can't accept donor conditions that restrict curatorial practice." He folded his arms. "If you're worried about superstition, Our experience is that mirrors breed law. If the glass looks at a wall, fewer visitors swoon. If this is about internet buzz, I promise you, this is about it showing me things 5 minutes before they happen, Quinn said, the sentence absurd as it left her mouth. It's less likely to script people's bodies if it's pointed at the world, not at them. He watched her the way people watch dogs they didn't want to startle. Still, cautious, amused. I can't accommodate ghost parameters, he said, kindly enough to make the words worse. But I can schedule it to face outward at opening. I'll buy it back, she said, hearing the wind-up of panic in her own voice. He shook his head. Chain of title is set. It's here now. You did the right thing. He wheeled the crate out to the main hall, let her look. The mirror inside looked like any mirror facing a wall. Its own emptiness reflected itself so perfectly it felt like falling asleep by accident. She went home. She texted the foundation. It's in storage. Facing inward. Are you alone? The reply came. Yes. Don't sleep in front of any mirror tonight. Not even the bathroom. Cover them. She covered everything. The medicine cabinet, the hallway hall tree, the oven door, the black gloss of her phone screen. She laughed at herself with a dry sound. She poured wine she didn't drink. She lay on her couch with a towel over the TV, as if tucking in a pet. At 2:08 a.m. she woke to the smell of old roses and burned sugar. Her phone lit through the towel with a pale glow. She lifted the edge. The lock screen showed a live photo, a 5-second loop, of the museum storage room. The mirror inside the crate, facing a white wall, showed her studio. Not the wall in front of it. Her space. Her couch. Her towel. Her face. The live photo rolled through its loop. She lifted the towel. She did. She stared. She did. She blinked. She did. Then the frame stuttered once and added a second loop. Not live, not her. The museum storage door opening, a sliver of smoke, the red exit light blooming into orange, a shadow sliding along the floor like spilled syrup, the curator's silhouette in the doorway, still as if framed in a painting, the mirror facing inward, drawing the room into itself like a breath. She called. No answer. She pulled on shoes over bare feet. She ran. The museum at night felt like a church wrong-footed. The emergency lighting made long green arrows on the floor. The air had the patient weight of things that had been named and tagged and made safe. The security guard met her with a hand up. Fire alarm tripped, he said. We're evacuating. Storage. Quinn shouted. The word came out like a cough. He nodded slowly. False ones lately. Old wiring. Wait here. Smoke laced the air. Thin pink threads of scent like a ribbon untied. The guard disappeared behind a marked door. In the blue dark of the lobby, Quinn saw her mirror's former case sitting empty, label curled at one corner. The donor line read anonymous. She wished her name were there to give her weight in this place. Time swelled and slowed. The guard's radio crackled, words she couldn't pick. Then a flurry of motion. The curator and 2 assistants, coats thrown over pajamas, hair wild, running across marble. The curator caught sight of Quinn and skidded to a stop. What are you doing here? It called, she said. The wrong word, the only word. It showed me. He brushed by her, keyed open the storage door. Smoke breathed out in a sigh she felt on her cheeks. The room glowed orange at the edges like a stove coil slow to cool. Inside, the mirror's crate sat intact, lid unscrewed, foam tilted. The mirror faced the wall. Shorted light, one assistant said. Duct fault, said the other. Get the negative air machine, the curator snapped, professional as a surgeon. No flames. No harm but the smell. Still, Quinn's skin crawled. She stepped into the room as the men worked and felt the temptation tug at her shoulder blades like a ribbon being drawn through her. Turn the mirror. Just for a second. Confirm. Prove. Name. Don't, she said to herself. She put both hands in her pockets like a child learning not to touch. She turned to leave, proud of her restraint. The crate creaked. She spun. The mirror shifted a breath, a shrug under gravity, as if something had pressed lightly on its frame from within the glass. For a fractional moment, the tilt faced the room, catching the red exit sign in a smear and Quinn's shocked face at the edge. She saw herself 5 minutes from now, hair pulled back, jaw set, hands on the mirror's edges to turn it toward the door. She closed her eyes the way you close them when you see a car blow a light with your friend stepping off a curb. No. She counted to 5. She opened her eyes. The room looked the same. Her heart hammered with a new kind of fear. Not of fire, not of prediction, but of the way her hands had already ached to obey. She stepped back into the hall, pressed herself against the cool tile, and breathed deep until the world shrank to its proper size. Behind her, the curator said, almost tenderly, "We become what the rooms need." It wasn't addressed to her. Not really. He touched the crate once like a kiss on a forehead and told his assistants to rehouse the mirror in a different bay. "Facing outward," he added, and then, louder to Quinn as if he'd intended to say it all along, "We'll follow your request for public display. It will open the show." She nodded, tears burning in a way that surprised her. The guard gave her a paper cup of water and a look that said he had seen worse panic, and better. Outside, night resumed its regular life. Cabs, a drunk argument, someone running for no visible reason. Quinn walked home slowly, like a person who had stepped off a moving walkway and needed to remember the pace of floor. At her apartment, the towels still hooded the glass. She left them. She slept. She dreamed of Lydia again, but not in the hotel. Lydia sat in Quinn's studio in jeans and a t-shirt like a borrowed body. She held a compact mirror in her lap and didn't look into it. She looked at Quinn and said, "They don't show truth. They show surrender." Then she put the compact away and added, 5 minutes is what a mother gives a child to come willingly." Quinn woke with the kind of clarity that hurts. The show opened on a Saturday. Glamour and grit, Art Deco and the American city. The mirror stood at the foyer's throat like a host. It faced out to the door, to the street beyond, a sheet of day pinned in a gold frame. The docent's spiel hit the right notes. People took photos in it with their museum stickers and their new bangs. The label beneath said, "Vanity Mirror, circa 1928. Gilded wood, silvered glass. Beaumont Hotel Salvage. Anonymous gift. No mention of prediction, of rules. Good." For the first hours, everything behaved. The mirror showed people who would exist 5 minutes later. Tourists shrugging coats, a woman tying a child's shoe, a man losing his patience for art, then finding it again in the light on a brass fixture. Quinn stood back and watched relief move through her chest like weather clearing. The city could have this. The mirror could belong to morning strangers and field trips and 1,000 casual glances that never grew into permissions. At 2:14 p.m., a young man in a bomber jacket lifted a bronze mouse from its plinth again, and this time security reached him sooner, because a kid from last week had told everyone online to try it, and it had become a dare. The guard handled it with good humor. The kid handed the mouse back, chastened. The mirror caught his embarrassment and his friend's furtive film and someone's comment, "Oh, cursed museum," and let all of it sit in its small shallow sea for 5 perfect, merciful minutes before reality met it. At 3:03, the mirror changed. It didn't flip or tilt. The light inside it went slightly wrong, like glass when a cloud covers the sun. It stopped displaying the lobby and instead showed the storage room under the red exit. the very one Quinn had seen in her phone. It displayed an empty rectangle of concrete, with a scuffed line like a mark where a crate had once sat. It held that image while visitors took selfies with their own bodies ghosted by a room they couldn't see. "Projection issue," the curator murmured, moving toward it. "Hands up like you do when you approach a skittish animal." He waved for facilities. A tech in a polo came with a cart, looked baffled, and did nothing because there was nothing to do. The mirror obeyed no switch. People gathered. Phones rose. The mirror showed the storage door opening. The curator looked at himself opening the door in the mirror, even as he stood with his back to a closed door in reality. He looked younger in the glass, like a photo light loves. Then he spoke, on the glass, not in the room, and his glass self said, facing inward, "Just for a second." Quinn stepped forward. "No." He turned. She wasn't sure whether she was answering him or the him in the glass. He lifted his hands, both of them, and for a second his palms looked burned or dusted with flour. "It's a reflection," he said evenly to the room. "We're seeing a past event, or a prepared video. This is a prank." "Then don't do it," Quinn said. "If it's only an image, let it be one." He smiled thinly, the way professionals do when a patron has inconvenienced them publicly. He nodded to the tech. "Turn the case." The tech shrugged helplessly. "It's not powered." The mirror showed the curator now, alone in storage, lifting the frame slightly, breathing like a man moving a body carefully. Visitors murmured, delighted and spooked and saturated with having a story to tell. A girl live-streamed with a caption in a pink font. "It's happening." The mirror had taught Quinn one thing. The path of least resistance always waited, soft and warm, right under the choice not to take it. She walked to the rope, ducked under, put her palm flat on the glass, and said, softly but with steel, "No." Glass was room temperature cool. The foxing glimmered like summer thunderheads. In the mirror, the storage room paused. The curator's reflection looked up. For an animal moment, Quinn's brain fumbled. "Is he seeing me?" She lifted her hand away. A print bloomed in fog that wasn't there. The curator stood beside her. They looked like a couple in a wedding portrait, the art bride and the groom who'd learned museum lighting. He said, low enough that only she could hear, "You did the right thing bringing it here." "Then keep doing the right thing," she said back. He nodded once, enough like a real agreement that her eyes flooded. He turned to the crowd, said something gracious into a microphone about unexpected behavior, and closing the foyer for a short reset, and guided the guard to lower the stanchions. The mirror kept showing storage. The line moved back like tide at a shallow beach. The museum closed the foyer for an hour. When they reopened, the mirror showed the lobby again. The city slid across it in a safe sheen. That night, Quinn ate dinner with a friend on Charles Street and told half the truth. "Objects come with gravity," she said. "They pull you into the past if you let them." "We all do," her friend said, refilling wine. "The trick is anchoring in the present." She laughed. "You picked the right career for that. Weddings force everyone to say what time it is." Quinn walked home with a pleasant fatigue of a day 1 inch from disaster that did not go over the cliff. She slept with towels over the glass anyway, not as superstition but as mercy. Weeks passed. The mirror behaved. The museum made T-shirts. Someone designed an AR filter that foxed your selfies. The curator wrote an op-ed about looking forward that walked the line between fun and academic. The foundation account dmed Quinn a simple thank you. She blocked it, finally, not out of anger, but to give herself the clean edge of silence. Then the flood season came. Weddings stacked, church bells punched the air. Quinn lived in the rhythm of click and flash and the delicate tyrannies of timelines. She visited the mirror on Tuesdays like you visit a grandparent who used to worry you and now calms you by reading the same stories again. On a Wednesday in October, the museum posted a reel. A little girl in a blue coat kissed her own reflection and left a lip print on the glass. Commenters argued about hygiene. The mirror glowed like a hearth. Quinn saved the video without knowing why. That night, energy surged down the block and took the power with it. The studio went black and warm. Quinn lit 2 candles because she refused to open her phone and watch it bounce light at her face like a fish gasping. The city beyond her windows looked like a cave with the mouth just out of sight. Her phone buzzed anyway. Unknown number. She nearly didn't look. She did. Facing inward. Please. Just for a second. She threw the phone onto the chair as if it were hot. Her chest went tight the way it had at 3:26 in a different chapter of her life. She stood and walked to the bathroom and pulled the towel from the mirror and put it back and stood with both hands gripping porcelain. She looked at herself and said clearly, "No." Power returned with a thunk heavy enough to tick the picture frames. Her phone buzzed again. "Thank you." Then, "You'll save someone you don't know now." Then, "That's all it wanted." Then, "5 minutes is kind." She slept. In the morning, a push alert. Small electrical fire contained at City Decorative Arts Museum. No injuries, minimal damage. Her stomach dropped and steadied. The foyer was fine. The storage room had smoked. The mirror remained at its post. A little halo of filter dust around the frame from everyone's hands. She walked over, late, with a coffee. She stood among a school group and listened to a teacher ask kids, "What do you think this mirror has seen?" The children made up trains and flappers and ghosts, their hands windmilling, their voices bright and sure. A little girl in a blue coat kissed the glass again and wiped the print away with the side of her hand. The docent laughed and said, "We'll pretend we didn't see that." The museum hummed with safe noise. Quinn took a selfie with the mirror for the first time since the day she bought it. The photo showed her 5 minutes from now, doing exactly what she was doing, mouth soft with an ordinary smile that had no script behind it. When 5 minutes arrived, she raised her phone and took the same shot. It matched. She exhaled a laugh that had a little sob in it. She texted the curator the photo with no caption. He sent back a thumbs-up emoji and then, half a minute later, a second message. We turned it slightly toward the door. Not policy, just feels right. On the walk back to the studio, the sky over the row houses looked like poured milk. She passed a man holding a bouquet at a bus stop, nervous, then proud, then shrugging as if he could shake joy into loosening. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number sent a photo. A compact mirror, spider-cracked across the eyelids. No text followed. She blocked the number without looking hard at the picture. That night, Quinn put her keys on the desk, took a breath, and, on purpose, put them in the freezer. She laughed into the cold air. She set a glass by the bed and then moved it to the table. She picked up a razor and then put it down. She texted a number with a sentence that had waited for months. "I forgive you." She slept, not like a person being watched, but like a person watched over by nothing other than time. In a city block someplace else, a woman about to open a door paused for 5 minutes without knowing why. In a storage room, a crate remained turned outward to the hall. In a museum foyer, a gold frame filled with the day. What would you do with a mirror that shows your next 5 minutes? Keep it to save yourself, or give it away so it can stop scripting you? Tell me, keep or donate. And why? You click a post at 2:11 a.m. that already has 40,000 upvotes and the kind of title you only see once. I think my apartment is repeating. It's in r/true scary stories. No role play, no creepypasta. The OP's first line is clinical, almost bored. Every day for 2 weeks, the same morning happens. The same microwave beep at 8:12. The same flyer snared on the same fence. The same busker playing Wonderwall, but one chord is wrong, and it gets more wrong every day. You scroll, half smiling, ready to call it an ARG. Then the comments start syncing with things in your own room. Your kettle ticks once at the exact second OP says theirs does. Your AC rattle stops at the exact second they write it stops. You tell yourself it's just timing. Then a mod pins a rule. No roleplay. Verified OP. And the subreddit, the internet, your night, tilts. Username, u/ordinaryhollow. Flare. OP. Post time, 1:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Title, I think my apartment is repeating. Body, abridged. A day 1. Neighbor microwaves fish at 8:12. Dog upstairs barks twice. Flyer on fence fluttering. A day 2. Same, but the dog barks 3 times. A day 3. Same, but the hallway stain moves 8 inches to the right. A day 4. Same, but the busker's chord is more wrong. A day 5. I leave a coin on the stair. Next morning, the coin is there, but flipped. OP adds timestamps like they're doing science. They preface with the dull authority of someone who puts their socks in the same drawer. They start logging the little deviations like weather. The thread explodes. Awards drip down the page like candle wax. People pile in with same here and following, and that Reddit thing where skepticism pretends to be kindness. U/rational heron. OP, do a hard break, go to a hotel. U/pale bluish, change something big. Same clothes for 3 days, then switch. U/sourdough, this is deja vu. Your brain uses deja vu to check itself. A mod appears with a soft police tone. U/moderner, we've seen RP. This isn't it. OP verified with video and local timestamp. Keep it civil. You scroll the comments like a rosary. Hours slip. OP posts update 1. They mark their apartment door with pencil. Next morning, the mark is still there, but fainter, like the door remembers being clean. They set a webcam to watch the hallway at 2:03 a.m., which is when their files always corrupt. The file corrupts again, but is replaced with 14 seconds of OP sleeping, shot from an angle the camera cannot achieve. The thread grows branches. Artists sketch the hallway. Someone makes a map. A guy in Ossent clothes triangulates OP's city by the busker's chord progression. He's wrong. The city feels like all of them and none. At 4:12 a.m., you get to update 2. OP proposes a live stream for the next reset. The chat eats it like sugar. Update 3. Pinned live at 12:50 a.m. local time. Fixed camera. I'll mark the door. I'll place a coin. I'll set an alarm for 2:01 a.m., 2 minutes before the usual right when it happens 2:03 corruption. I'll open the door before the reset, to see if it changes what it wants to do. The mod adds, no doxing, no remote access suggestions, no, check the pipes. OP posts a shot of an analog wall clock. The second hand jumps like a spooked horse. The chat purrs. U/coin purse. This is how horror movies start. U/lil toaster. If it's an ARG, it's a good one. U/ghosts grad. The fact that the mod is vouching is freaking me out. You eat dinner with the stream open like it's a fire you have to watch. OP's apartment is aggressively normal. IKEA bookcase, fern with 2 yellowing leaves, a framed print that says Sunday kind of love. OP's hands dart in and out, placing a quarter, taping the door, testing the webcam. Their voice is soft, almost embarrassed. At 1 hour 59 minutes and 50 seconds, the chat rate triples. Emojis strobe like a club. You hate this. You love this. It feels like standing on a curb with your friend when someone runs a light. 2 hours and 58 seconds. The chat says now. 2 hours and 1 minute. OP puts their hand on the knob. 2 hours 1 minute and 1 second. The audio warps, like the apartment swallows. 2 hours 1 minute and 4 seconds. The door opens inward on daylight. Children's voices. A hallway that should be the night one but isn't. Like the set has been swapped between takes. The coin is on the mat, but it isn't a quarter. It's a foreign coin, hole in the middle, blue ribbon tied to it. U/ordinary hollow. Text this isn't me. The camera angle changes midstream. No movement. 1 second the tablet is at eye level. The next, the picture comes from the ceiling, camera under overlay in the corner. The chat loses its mind. OP appears in 2 places. At the door, hand on knob, as before, and on the couch, watching the stream on their phone. Both versions of OP raise their heads at the same time and look into 2 different cameras. The account deletes. The stream keeps running. The mods lock the thread. The locked tag vanishes. A branch discussion spawns on our /relationship device. People cope weird. A thread spawns on our /tech support. People cope weirder. The live stream chat resets to slow mode, and then ignores slow mode. The apartment keeps existing. You watch for 3 hours while nothing happens. It's like watching an empty stage where you know the trapdoor is loaded. At 3:12, your building's heat knocks. Your neighbor drops something heavy. Your phone hiccups into then back to Wi-Fi. You feel watched, not by a person, but by a schedule. Thousands watch until the stream winks out like a zip file. The subreddit turns into a war room. A user named u/solventmirror posts a Google Drive with clipped highlights and an ffmpeg command that preserves the original timestamps. Someone else uploads a frame-by-frame GIF of the OP moment. Graphs get drawn. Theories bloom like mold. It's a delayed stream with live chat. It's 2 parallel instances of the same apartment. It's a clever deepfake. It's a psychotic break. A smaller group notices something boring and horrifying. Text inside the thread keeps moving. Edits that used to show up with edited 3M now lift words out of brackets. Sentences rearrange. The top comment changes daily. The username on the top comment is always the same. U/ordinary hollow, which should be impossible, because OP deleted their account. Top comment day 1. It wasn't a loop, it was a queue. Day 2. It wasn't a loop, it was a line. Day 3. It wasn't a loop, it was a line and you were all in it. Day 4. It wasn't a loop, it was a line and you were all in it and your browsers stood patiently. A mod posts a screenshot of the subreddit's mod log. Actions are out of order. A ban executed at 2:03 appears before a pin at 1:58. A sticky appears, then unsticky, then sticky again, like someone learning buttons by imitation. You start checking your own phone timestamps. One message to your friend delivered before you typed it. The other way round, later. Minor, shruggable, but not nothing. Someone catalogs other subreddits reporting offness. Cooking, biking, makeup. Microwave beep at 8:12. Appears and reappears like a stamp. People in different cities film their block at 8:12 and catch a synchronized smallness. Kettle steam, a bus squeal, a dog's 3 barks. The internet drifts toward a folk belief. A daily reset that is not a shuffle back to zero, but a tidy requeuing of the next minute, the next, and the next. The mod who vouched for OP goes quiet for 12 hours, then posts. You/modder. I'm not your parent. I can't tell you to touch grass. But if your 2:03 a.m. is weird, maybe don't try to break it alone. They pin the post. The pin moves down the page and then returns to the top without anyone touching anything. Someone starts a Discord where people who experience the 812 effect can coordinate. The rooms are chaos and kindness and goofs. The breakers, a name they pick without realizing how silly it sounds, are teachers, line cooks, a nurse who posts only on breaks, a physics PhD who sighs a lot, a cashier who writes like a priest, a 13-year-old who gets banned twice and comes back with punctuation. They propose rules. 1. Don't open your door at 2:01 to 2:05. 2. Put something benign in the way of yourself. 3. If a post asks for uniform action, don't. 4. If you see yourself in double, don't move until one of you breaks eye contact. Rule 4 originates from a woman named Sada, whose hallway mirror blinked first. She writes with the matter-of-fact music of someone from the Midwest. I saw myself through the glass, looking at me. The one inside the glass blinked wrong. Top eyelid lagged. I decided I was the one out here. People test small breaks. Walk backward for a minute at 8:12. Put a laundry basket where their foot usually stubs. Sing loudly when the bus squeals. Tiny successes stack. A baker reports a different song from the busker. A woman's dog barks once instead of twice. Another woman's hallway stain stops moving. Then, failures. A teacher who opens their door at 2:02 sees their daylight hallway for a second, and then nothing for 23 minutes except a static that tastes like a coin. A man who places a glass on the floor as a tripwire finds the glass in the freezer the next morning, neatly frosted around the rim, no memory of moving it. The mods clamp down on advice that smells like rights. The comments get stricter, then unmoored. You find yourself reading replies that have not been posted yet. You reply to a question that arrives 15 minutes later. It feels like crossing a street where the crosswalk lights don't match the cars. On the 7th day after OP's deletion, a brand new account with no history posts to our /true scary stories. Title: I can answer 2 questions. Body: I will answer 2 questions honestly. When the questions are asked, the answers will already have appeared. Then this account will delete. The mods throttle. Comments stack like playing cards. The answers appear 4 minutes before the questions are posted. Answer 1, posted 10:19. No, not time travel. Cue discipline. Your devices are trained on presenting as if real time. Some are better students. Question 1, posted 10:23. Is this time travel? Answer 2, posted 10:22. Not a loop. You aren't returning. You are being reinserted gently into your own ongoing. Some of you were off by seconds, some minutes, some longer. Question 2, posted 10:26. Is this a loop? The account deletes. The thread remains. The drive links get mirrored 100 times. A YouTuber posts a tight 10-minute summary with an attractive thumbnail that has nothing to do with fear. The video clocks 1 million views in 24 hours. The comments ask, what's the chord the busker gets wrong? As if the answer matters. You watch the summary and feel both better and worse. Better because someone pinned the chaos to a corkboard. Worse because a corkboard is not a wall. You decide to behave. You decide to be the kind of person who chooses bed over thread. You set your phone face down. You mark your door with pencil because you are not fully the person you wish to be. You place a coin on the mat because you like the ritual, not the superstition. You tell yourself both things can be true. 1:58. Your phone buzzes a small animal. You let it. 2 o'clock. The building settles its bones. 2:01. You think of OP's daylight hallway. 2:02. You imagine a busker playing Wonderwall with the wrong chord and feel, irrationally, protective of the chord. 2:03. The lights don't flicker. The air holds. You do not open the door. Your phone buzzes again. You turn it over, because you are still you, and the lock screen shows a live photo that shouldn't exist. It's your hallway, looping 5 seconds. Your mat, your coin, the pencil mark on your door faint like it's tired. At the end of the loop, a white smudge crawls along the X and erases it stroke by stroke with too many little hands. You turn the phone face down slowly, like you're returning a lid to a pot. You lie there until 2:17 because that number feels friendly. You fall asleep and dream of a queue, not of people, but of small moments waiting politely, each with a ticket that reads, you. In the morning, the coin is flipped. The pencil mark is gone. You put a new one on and don't tell anyone. 2 weeks after the deletion, the archivists notice a new oddity. In the saved stream, at 1 hour 58 minutes and 34 seconds, before the OP moment, there's a single frame where OP's bookcase contains a book it didn't. A paperback with sun-bleached spine, title unreadable. Frame by frame, a user cleans the image. The title emerges like a bruise. Queuing systems. The comments roast themselves. Industrial engineering major jumped in. This is just a plant. This is art and I'm mad. An engineer writes patiently in a long comment that migrates up and down the thread like plankton. In queuing theory, the order in which items are served matters. FIFO, first in, first out, feels fair. But when the system can see ahead, it may choose SPT, shortest processing time, to keep throughput high. If you are a packet, your experience of fairness changes based on what the system optimizes for. A user with a cartoon cat avatar replies, "Are we packets?" The engineer never answers because their comment is folded invisible and then visible again. A small redemption arc plays out in the background. A Redditor who bragged about shoplifting in a different thread posts that the mirror in their local museum, a different city, a different mirror, showed them 5 minutes ahead pulling a bronze from a shelf, so they didn't. They sound both grateful and irritated, like someone whose meal was comped, but the waiter was smug. Through all of it, OP is gone. Their handle is u/deleted. Their comments remain like footprints in concrete. The words adjust around the brackets like water. Then night. An account named u/ordinary hollow posts a one-liner in a small thread about saucepan seasoning. The comment is harmless. Add oil after it's already warm. Your pan will remember you better. The comment gets buried. The handle 404s when clicked. The comment remains. A bot marks it as OP. The subreddit holds its breath. Nothing else happens. The world does not rearrange itself for you. You have to eat. You have to work. You have to let a myth stay a myth while it brushes your coat as it passes. One night, your DMs fill with a group invite titled Q Humans. You accept like an idiot. The room is small, invite only, half familiar avatars. A user with a brand new account and a voice that feels like OP without the affectation says, "We need 30 people to do nothing at the same time." They mean it exactly. Not a dance, not a chant. Stillness. Devices face down, door unopened, eyes on one spot that is not a screen. 2 minutes at 2:03. They want to see if a queue will notice, if the service order will spasm when too many packets stop containing cells. It's not a ritual. It's sabotage without the romance. You sign up because you are who you are, and because an experiment that requires silence is the least cringe thing the internet has ever asked of you. 202. You sit in a straight-backed chair. You stare at a screw head in your baseboard. You breathe. The coin is not on the mat tonight. You draw a pencil X on the door. 203 arrives with no thunder. 204 is milk. 205 is bread. You blink, but not at the wrong time. Across the city, other people stare at screws in baseboards. Across the country. Across an ocean. The server load on a humble Discord voice channel remains light. Nothing to see. A user in the room types, "My sink turned on." Another, "My hallway is light." Another, "My mark is gone." Another, "I heard someone say, cue discipline, in my room." You think you hear your kettle knock, but it might be a neighbor's shoe. The next day, a user posts a graph. The site pings on a major social network dropped by a fraction at 203. The kind of dip wind can cause. Weather. The graph comforts no one and everyone. People want to be data. People want to be exceptions. People want OP to return and say, "Good job." OP does not return. You grocery shop at 8:12 like a joke on yourself. In produce, you pick a tomato and feel the skin of it as if it's your own. A busker outside plays Wonderwall with the right chord, and you almost cry, which is humiliating and private and fine. On the bench by the pharmacy, a person sits with a backpack and an expression like cardboard bent then straightened. They are nobody. They are everyone. Their hands twist a key on a ribbon, a foreign coin, hole in the center. They look up when you pass, blink slowly, say nothing. They don't need to. The back of your neck prickles. You know them like you know the taste of water. Are you? You start and stop. Names are cursed. Handles are costumes. You try again. Do you sleep? They smile in a way that is sweet and cruel and relieved. Better, they say. You. Better, you say, and find that it is true. They hitch the backpack stand, and for a moment, their face double exposes, your camera brain catching two frames. One where they are a person going outside and buying floss. One where they are a queue manager nobody hired. Don't open at 203, they say softly, like a parent. Then, because they are not a parent, because they are your peer inside the same ridiculous body, they add, but if you do, blink slow. You nod like a pact. You pay for your food. A man cuts the line and you let him because he is crying. Your phone shows a text you will send tomorrow and you laugh. A bus squeals and an engine idles and a dog barks twice and then not at all. The thread falls down the subreddit like a leaf that never hits ground. People move on. People never move on. Every month someone posts. Remember, deleted? A 13-year-old hears the story for the first time and feels the inside of their skull get bigger. A 50-year-old rolls their eyes and then, privately, marks their door with pencil. The museum with the bronze mouse changes the mirror's angle by 1 degree toward the door. No sign mentions it. Fewer people swoon. One night, your power flickers. Your phone turns on by itself at 2:01 and shows a photo of your own hallway with a pencil X already erased. You set the phone down. You stare at the screw. You breathe. Some nights, things still happen. Doors show day for a second. Kettle knocks twice. Live photos loop impossible angles. But the thing that was going to turn your life into a loop forgot you. Or rather, it placed you back in your line. You take your own line more seriously. You let an old woman cross in front of you, though the light turned red. You leave coins for children to find because you like the way choice looks on a small face. You memorize the sound of your apartment at 8:12, so you can hear it when it's wrong and smile when it's right. The screenshot you saved, the OOP moment, lives in your camera roll near pictures of your mother's hands and a casserole you attempted. Sometimes you stare at it and try to decide whether the person on the couch is you and the person at the door is you. You decide that it doesn't matter. You never open your door at 2:03. Not because a myth said so, because a friend did. Right now, if your phone auto-sorts your life, if your apps try to guess your next move, do you let them? Or do you break the smallest thing, just to prove you're not a packet in someone else's queue? Tell me in the comments. A nuke. You'd delete the apps, kill the accounts, and live unqueued. Watch. You'd keep the feed open, eyes wide, and ride the line. The darkest corners of the deep web. Mara was a graduate student in cybersecurity. Smart, cautious, logical. She had spent 3 years buried in packet captures and intrusion reports, the kind of person who could smell a phishing attempt from the subject line alone. So when she stumbled onto a hidden hub of live streams buried behind a botnet sinkhole, she thought it was weird, yes, but manageable. The feeds were boring. Fish tanks, waiting rooms, living rooms of the elderly. Except every video was delayed by exactly 72 seconds. And in the chat box that ticked beneath each stream, there was one user who wasn't delayed at all. E1. They typed warnings before events occurred. The fish jumped when they said it would. The man in the recliner coughed blood on cue. And when Mara's own apartment appeared as a new feed, her stairwell, her kitchen, her bedroom, they typed something that stopped her cold. E1. Don't go in at 14 minutes and 37 seconds. She checked the timestamp. It was 14 minutes and 10 seconds. Mara's world was lines of code, streaming logs, and fluorescent-lit nights at the Security Operations Center. She lived in Manchester, a flat above a Turkish bakery that smelled of sesame and smoke, her life ordered into schedules and command lines. She wasn't the adventurous sort. Not in meat space. The botnet sinkhole started like routine work, mapping out compromised baby monitors and cheap IoT cameras. She followed threads deeper, tracing command and control servers to a buried index. Instead of the usual garbage, she found a clean page with 100 stream thumbnails. Each showed nothing extraordinary. An aquarium bubbling with neon fish. A hospital waiting room, a stairwell that might belong to any tower block, an elderly man dozing in a recliner while a muted TV played. She thought it was voyeurism, another gross corner of the net, until she noticed the timestamp mismatch. Every feed's audio trailed the video by 72 seconds exactly. She opened the chat out of curiosity. It scrolled slow, mostly usernames posting nothing. Bots, maybe. Except for one. E1. E1. Fish jump at 1 minute and 13 seconds. E1. Recliner man coughs blood now. And they did. Exactly 72 seconds later. Mara's chest prickled with cold sweat. It wasn't a prediction. It was a lead. Somehow, E1 was watching in real time while everyone else saw the lag. She decided to observe only. That was her first mistake. At 2 a.m., a new feed appeared labeled Stairwell 12. Mara's stomach sank. It was her own building, the narrow stairwell 6 floors below. She watched as a teenager with a yellow backpack tripped on the landing. E1. Girl W/yellow backpack trips in 72s. And sure enough, the girl tripped. Her hands shook as she texted her neighbor upstairs. Be careful on the stairs tomorrow. Don't run. She didn't mention why. A second feed popped into existence. Flat 3F. Mara's flat. The camera angle was impossible. High above the kitchen light fixture, pointed straight at her door. She scrambled onto a chair, ripped down the glass dome, found nothing but dust. But on the stream, the camera stayed, unblinking. Then came the chat. E1. Don't go in at 14 minutes and 37 seconds. She froze at her own front door, laptop balanced against her hip. Timestamp. 14 minutes and 10 seconds. She looked again at the feed labeled Stairwell 12. A hooded figure appeared, leaving her flat, 72 seconds in the future, carrying a black bundle. Her throat closed. If she entered now, she'd meet them in the doorway. If she waited, maybe the future would skip over her. She called 999 with shaking hands. The operator's voice was calm, clipped. Mora tried to explain. There's someone in my flat. I can't explain how I know, but they'll leave in less than a minute. The operator asked for her address. She gave it. On her laptop, the hooded figure descended the stairs. They placed the black bundle at the landing, then walked calmly out of frame. E1. It's not a bomb. Mora's voice cracked. What is it? E1. It's your missing time. The police arrived in under 5 minutes. 2 officers entered the stairwell cautiously. Mora stayed outside, clutching her laptop. The bundle was a baby monitor. Old. Analog. Its red light blinked weakly. Inside the battery compartment was a SIM card. Back at the station, they extracted files, recordings of Mora's flat. But the timestamps were wrong. Clips showed her boiling water at 3:17 a.m. She was asleep then. Moving the couch, she'd never moved it. Sitting on the floor, whispering to no one. When she listened closely, she realized the whispers were her voice. But the words weren't ones she remembered saying. 72 seconds is kind, the voice said. It used to be days. The site vanished 2 days later. Every mirrored link went dark, but her devices never returned to normal. Sometimes her hallway light flicked on exactly 72 seconds before she reached the switch. Sometimes her laptop fan spun up before she typed. Sometimes her reflection in her monitor blinked a beat too early. The police closed the case. Her professors told her to take a break. Mora started sleeping with every screen covered. One night, she checked the SIM again. A final recording had appeared. Just audio. It was her own voice, calm, whispering, "Don't open the door at 14 minutes and 37 seconds. The same words that saved her. But the last line was new. You opened it anyway. Mora moved flats. She replaced every device. She scrubbed her online footprint. But the lag followed. At cafes, the overhead TV broadcasted football goals 72 seconds before the crowd outside cheered. At the library, she turned a page just as the man beside her did, and saw her own handwriting already inked in his book. And always, in any live feed, any call, any reflection, one username found her. E1. Don't lag behind. Because whatever watched the streams wasn't predicting. It wasn't even warning. It was managing. And Mora wasn't a viewer anymore. She was a packet in the queue. If you were Mora, and you saw a live feed of your own front door with a chat predicting your next 72 seconds, would you obey the warnings, or slam the laptop shut and ignore it? Type obey or ignore in the comments, and tell me what you'd do if someone already knew your next minute. Imagine you're a rideshare driver at 1 a.m. You've run this city's veins for years. Every shortcut, every traffic light, every place where the road hums differently under your tires. You know it by heart. A new passenger slips into the back seat. Her ride request has no destination. You ask, "Where to?" She smiles, faint, unsettling. "Where you always go." At first you think it's a joke. But when you turn toward the highway for gas, your usual routine, she nods before you merge. Every lane change, every shortcut, every thought in your head, she acknowledges it a beat before you do it. And then she asks the question that makes your stomach flip. Do you ever miss the turn and wish the city would move to match your mistake? Evan Connors had driven nights for 3 years. Chicago was his map and his confession booth. He liked it better when the city was half asleep, lit by sodium street lamps and the blue glow of diners. Nights meant fewer drunks, more silence, the occasional couple whispering too loudly in the back. His routes were muscle memory. Lakeshore Drive for breath, Wicker Park for surge, O'Hare for the long hauls. He knew where cops sat, which yellow lights lasted longer, which alleys carried echoes. Driving wasn't his side hustle. It was his meditation. That night, rain slicking the streets, his dashboard clock glowing 1:06. The ping came from Anya. Profile pic blurred, rating 4.98. Pickup near a laundromat on Western. He rolled up, and there she was. Mid-30s, pale coat damp from drizzle, hair loose like she'd walked too far without carrying. She slid in, smelled faintly of wet brick and cloves. No perfume. No destination. Where to? He asked. Where you go? He laughed, thinking she was drunk or poetic, but she sat straight, hands folded, watching the windshield like she'd seen this ride before. Evan turned toward the gas station he always hit before runs. She nodded before he signaled. At the merge, she tilted her head before he checked the blind spot. When he cut down a side street to skip a light, she whispered, "Yes. You been in my car before?" He asked, uneasy. "No, but I know your routes." "How?" "Everyone has routes. Everyone always goes where they always go. Eventually." Her voice was soft but timed wrong, like she was answering a question he hadn't asked yet. At a red light near Belmont, she spoke again. "There's a woman on the 3rd floor there who still has your sweater." Evan stared. He had dated a woman in that building 6 years ago. Left behind a hoodie. He hadn't thought of it in years. His stomach knotted. "Who are you?" "I used to take this ride when I had a body," she said, looking out the window. "When I thought routes were choices." She asked him to stop at a corner shop. Evan frowned. There was nothing but a boarded storefront, shuttered 10 years. But when he pulled up, the gate was half open. Fluorescent light buzzed inside. "I just need a pack of clothes," she said. Against his better judgment, Evan waited as she slipped in. The bell above the door jingled. Through the rain-streaked glass, he saw a man in a cardigan behind the counter. He sold her a pack of cigarettes, brand discontinued in 2009. She came back, dry somehow, lit one, inhaled without exhaling. Smoke curled inside her like water poured into a sponge. "Left here," she said suddenly. He obeyed. Left again. He obeyed. "Now pull up at the hydrant. No one will ticket." He stopped. She looked at him through the mirror. "Your wife's due in October. You're afraid you'll miss it because you always go this way." Evan's chest iced. They hadn't told anyone about the IVF, not even family. She reached forward, placed something cold in his hand, a hospital visitor sticker. His name on it. Tomorrow's date. Half torn. "You won't miss it," she said. "But you will miss this next turn if you keep arguing with me." The hydrant hissed. Water pipes groaned like relief. He blinked, and then he saw the block. A narrow one lane he'd never noticed, between warehouses, shimmering like heat though it was cold. At the far end, a woman in scrubs waved frantically. Phone dead. Needed a ride to a hospital night shift. Evan drove her. Minutes mattered. She handed him another sticker. Tomorrow's date, laughing. Keep it for luck. When he looked back, Anya was gone. The seat smelled of cloves and rain. Dashcam footage showed a smear of light where she'd sat. Each time the clove ember flared, the smear brightened. When she said left, the navigation UI flickered, routes rewriting themselves in real time. In October, his wife went into labor early. He took that hidden one lane without thinking. Parked by the hydrant. No ticket. Made it inside with seconds to spare. The baby's bracelet bore a name they hadn't planned until they saw her. A name faintly scrawled on the back of the torn visitor sticker. Now, sometimes, when Evan drives late at night, he looks for the one lane. It isn't always there. But when it is, the air smells of cloves, and he hears a soft voice answering his thoughts before he speaks them. People say cities are maps of choices. But for some, they're scripts, routes, patterns the city bends itself to fulfill. Evan never saw Anya again. But sometimes, at stoplights, strangers nod before he turns. And sometimes, when he misses a turn, the city shifts to meet him. What about you? If a stranger got in your car, knew your routes, and handed you proof of tomorrow, would you keep driving them, or throw them out and never look back? Comment, drive, or stop below, and tell me the eeriest encounter you've ever had with a stranger who seemed to know too much.